Hey everyone, you are watching a short segment from a sermon that I gave at Freedom Hill Community. The sermon was on the book of 1 Peter and how we can have hope as Christian exiles in the world. If you are interested in watching the full teaching, check out the link in the description below, and I hope you enjoy this short video.
So Peter wants to convey to his audience that they are part of Israel. They are part of God's family. Peter wants his readers also to see themselves as exiles. He calls them elect exiles of the dispersion. They are living in a land not their own, and Peter's readers probably felt a lot like exiles. They were facing major persecution in their communities at this time. It hadn't yet gotten to the point where they were being officially targeted by the Roman Empire for persecution. That happened a little bit later. But it was building up to that. They were being slandered. When we read through the letter, we see that they were being slandered. They were being excluded and marginalized and maligned, all because of their identity as Christians, all because of what they believed and how they lived. The surrounding culture persecuted them. Peter goes on to say that his audience is chosen, quote, according to the foreknowledge of God the Father. Okay, so they are elect exiles according to the foreknowledge of God the Father. They are chosen by God in accordance with his purposes. So Peter, he wants to remind his audience that despite how bad their situation might seem, they aren't there by mistake. God has a plan for them. And this is unpacked a little bit more in verses 3 through 13, which we'll get to in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about this exilic motif a little bit more, this theme of exile a little bit more. Peter wants his audience to see themselves as exiles. Why? Well, as we keep going, I think you're going to see just how relevant this message is for us today. Because like Peter's original audience, we are living in a type of exile, aren't we? We are living in a type of exile. We are sojourners in a land not our own, surrounded by a culture that is often hostile to our beliefs and is often hostile to how we live. Society disparages, maligns, and excludes us because of our identity as Christians, just like the culture surrounding Peter's original audience excluded, maligned, and disparaged them because of their identity as Christians. Have you ever heard of cancel culture? Okay. Well, if you don't know, basically, cancel culture is when someone expresses an unpopular opinion, which results in a mob of outraged people canceling them. And often canceling them takes the form of calling for the person to be fired from their job or calling for them to be removed from social media and those types of things. It's a type of social ostracism. Okay? It's a type of social exclusion. Okay? Much of the time, it's some celebrity who has failed to adhere to society's ever-changing cultural trends. Some celebrity has not appropriately celebrated the latest letter that we added to the LGBTQ plus movement, and so they are canceled. All right, they're excluded and maligned. But regular people like us have been victims of the online mob too. Recently, there was a major book publisher that removed books written by Christian and conservative authors because they challenged the prevailing cultural narrative regarding things like transgenderism. So cancel culture is an attempt to silence and punish those who dare hold to unpopular ideas. Well, as followers of Yeshua who believe the Bible, we hold many unpopular beliefs, don't we? We have many unpopular ideas. modern secular culture is hostile toward our convictions regarding things like life, gender, and marriage. Modern secular culture doesn't like that we say that a baby in the womb is a human person deserving of the right to life, and you shouldn't execute them. Modern secular culture doesn't like the fact that we say men are not women, like 2 + 2 = 4. They promote this sort of neo-Gnosticism that says, oh, you can ascend beyond your physical limitations and be whatever gender you want. They don't like the fact that we say, no, men are men and women are women. They don't like the fact that we say marriage is a heterosexual union by definition. They don't like the fact that we agree with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we ought to judge each other based on the content of our character and not based on the color of our skin. Modern secular culture wants to create a hierarchy of races. They want to divide us based on group identity according to race and pit us against each other as oppressors and oppressed. Critical race theory. They don't like that we promote that we ought to love our neighbor as ourselves and that we are all equal in value and worth as people created in God's image. If you hold to Christian values regarding these issues, you will be called a bigot. You may lose friends. You may lose professional opportunities. You may be kicked off of social media. Being a follower of Messiah today is not trendy. Like Peter's original audience, Christians today face social exclusion and contempt because of what we stand for. And like his original audience, we know we don't really fit in here. We don't really fit in this world. But while society does slander and exclude us, Peter reminds us that we are not excluded from God's family. We are called his elect. We have an identity and a family and a purpose because of who we are in the Messiah.